Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Thank you for joining. This is the community live stream. This is the show that brings you the content, the questions, the answers behind the ServiceNow community, the thought process, the journey of discovery, more than just the answers. You bring me the questions and the issues, and I try to answer them and give you an explanation of how I got to that. And then you can take those skills to your organization and be a more effective ServiceNow developer and administrator. My name is Chuck Tomasi. I am the ServiceNow guy with the cool bow tie. And this is November 21st, 2018. It is Wednesday. It is the day before Thanksgiving holiday here in the U.S., which means there's probably not going to be a show for a while. I may try and sneak one in Thursday or Friday. Those are ServiceNow and U.S. holidays in most parts of the country, and I plan on making the most of them. I do plan on building a ServiceNow application that will help my coworkers, because that's what I do on my days off. I find that the holidays are some of my most productive times. Next week, I will be in Las Vegas at AWS reInvent, big trade show for Amazon. Hope to see you there. Stop by our booth. I'll be there with my Amazon Dash Button exhibit for the platform, and developer meetup next week. I'll get into that in a little bit. Hope to see you there, giving everybody a chance to join up while we go through the introduction. Look, I got the notification from YouTube. So let's do the YouTube thing, put the T aside. And and the week after Amazon, the week of December 3, I will be in Tampa for Developer Days. We have a Developer Days workshop and another meetup for Tampa Bay. So looking forward to seeing many of you at those meetups and hopefully at the trade shows as well. So if you're watching live on YouTube, I highly encourage you to click that subscribe link so that you get notifications like I just did on my phone. It says, hey, ServiceNow community is live. And if it's this weird hour of the day, 1 p.m. UTC, you do the math for your area. You find out that something is going on. Either a video's been posted or somebody's live with a webinar or Chuck's just hanging out in the community again. So subscribe. If you find something helpful in the next hour or so, please click the like button to let other people know that there is useful information out there. If you're watching this in the community, in that embedded video, click the helpful link there so that other people can tell that there's helpful link. I will be posting all of the links to articles we browse, we review, we comment on. Everything that's been done today will be journaled, as it were. It's not a journal field. Just thought of that. It's not a journal field. It goes into an HTML field, gets parsed into a related list, then processed into a text field, and blah, blah, blah. We've been through that before. Anyway, I'm down a rabbit hole. That's what I do when I'm a developer. I drink chamomile tea in the morning. No caffeine for this bird. We also do this on Twitch. If you like, you can watch over there. A number of people do that. So carry on with Twitch. If you've got more than good morning to Steve London, Steve has been very helpful in helping me diagnose, or at least bring to my attention, an audio artifact on this cast. And another one that I do uses much of the same hardware. And I am going to spend some of my holiday time tracking that down, hopefully isolating it and eliminating it. So that is my mission before I come back with more live streams. You probably won't hear it if you're listening on speakers, but if you've got headphones, real good headphones, you may hear a hum, almost like something's not grounded. I'm going to find that gremlin and crush it. So thank you very much to Steve in Sweden. Good morning to you. Andrew Barnes. Yes, I have to finish answering my community questions. Nah. I spotted something this morning that I want to build on the vein of live coding happy hour. There was a question that came in. Let's continue on, because that's a great segue into where I was going. If you've got something more in the community, if you've got something more, don't post it in the video. It's hard to search for, hard to reference. Post it in the community where you get more subject matter experts and easy searchability, and it's valuable to people who come after. This is more of a look behind the answers and how did we get to that, so you can take those techniques. Granted, there are some tidbits in here that you'll want to latch onto, but unless somebody's going to go through and say, At 14 minutes and 52 seconds, Chuck was covering this specific topic. That's not really searchable and referenceable, and I don't think anybody's willing to do that for the last 150 some odd shows that I've done. So never mind about that. Post your questions in the community. Be sure to post and reply once. If you post multiple times, it makes it difficult for others to find your content and respond and keep the conversation going, because you've said the same thing in 5 different venues. It's hard. It's confusing. And I had somebody reach out to me on a previous article about a script REST API, which I will get into in just a little bit. But they replied to 5 different articles. And I tagged the first one and said, I'd like to cover that in the community live stream this morning. Then I saw another one and another one 5 times. Now I don't really know which one is the most appropriate to respond to. So I'm taking a guess, and they get what they get. It's not effective to respond. You don't need to. It's not like I'm keeping my eye on only one thing. Once I've responded to or subscribed to an article, I'm going to get notifications on that. That's not a problem. If you do that multiple times, it gets a bit confusing. Good morning, Tomas. Good to see you again. Welcome to our 2nd year of community live stream. It sounds like we've been around for a very long time. Not really. Time goes fast, and so are the days. If you like, I encourage you to hang out at the developer community. Developer.servicenow.com is where you can get yourself a free personal developer instance. You can get content from our YouTube channel, like Live Coding Happy Hour that I just mentioned. You can find all of the scripting APIs, free learning plans. What else? We got the CreatorCon Challenge. Thank you, scrolling bar, to remind me. CreatorCon Challenge, where you can win prize money at Knowledge 19 of up to $250,000 to get your new business started on an application based on ServiceNow. So I encourage you to check that out. Click the banner, go through the CreatorCon Challenge, and you could be our next rock star on stage with the venture capitalists, including Fred Luddy. Also available on the community are developer meetups. Thank you once again to the scrolling bar, which brings you to meetup.com. But there's also, I missed it, the menu bar that has events, including meetups and more. We currently only have meetups because all of the developer days and other events are concluded for the time being. But if you go to the meetup page from the banner or from, let's get rid of the thing there and put that one up there. The URL on the bottom, you will find all of these developer meetups around the world. And as you can see, there are some gaps. So if you would like to start one, let us know. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you. You organize it. This is your developer meetup. It's your topics. You get to choose what you want to talk about and when you want to talk about it, be it monthly, quarterly, bi-monthly, once a year. I hope it's more than once a year. I think there's more value in that. And you get people interested in your area to share ideas, very much like this, a community in real life. Currently, we are over 13,000 members, 50 chapters. I'm looking for that number to go up. I'm hoping our intern, Charlie, who helps with the organization and dissemination of information, is going back to school in December, late December. So his turn with us is up. We greatly appreciate all the stuff that Charlie has done for us over the last, has it been a year? 6 months? I don't know. It's gone really, really fast. As I mentioned, the last year has just been jam-packed with lots of stuff. Seems like every day is a new adventure. And thank you very much to Charlie for that. And I'm hoping he can squeeze in one or two more launches before he heads back. So with that, excuse me, got a few cobwebs to clear out. That takes care of that. Let's go to Knowledge. Knowledge 19 is coming up in Las Vegas, May 5th through 9th. You know the dates. You've got to mark down your calendar. If you don't, quickly mark them down. Talk to your boss. Say, hey, this is going to be extremely valuable, a great value to me to have customer interaction, to have a potential speaking session. I'll get to the call for speakers in just a second. It is open. Registration is now open. So if you go to knowledge.servicenow.com, like you see in the upper left corner, you will see a register button. You can get yourself registered. I believe we're still in early bird pricing. I think that lasts quite a while, in another month or so. So you can save yourself a lot of money by registering early. Pre-conference training is also available. If you want to bone up on some of those skills, you can do that. Pile that right onto Knowledge and make it a super week. It's kind of like when they put the grocery store and the family store next to each other, like Target or Walmart. You can get everything done in one stop and get on with the rest of your life. Sort of. I don't know. That didn't quite work the way I wanted it to, so we'll go with that. Also want to mention that call for content is open. I spotlighted it earlier. Call for content. You want to be a speaker at Knowledge, then you don't have to pay. You get a free pass to Knowledge, and you get to see all that other cool stuff and make it easier to sell your boss. This is how actually I got started on a lot of conferences. I volunteered as a speaker. I got selected as a speaker, and then we just had to cover the hotel and airline cost, but the conference pass was free. And if it's a local conference, if you happen to be lucky enough to live within maybe driving distance of Las Vegas, I know that's not many of the people who actually attend, but then your costs go way down, right? You could do that. Happy Thanksgiving, Weibach. Very nice to, I hope I'm saying that right. Ebach? Help me out with that. You can spell it phonetically in there. I want to get everybody's name right. I don't want to guess at this and go, he says my name. I want to be sensitive because your name is the most important word in your vocabulary. Hobby. It's backwards, of course. I've had friends who do that as well. Well, I'll remember that now. So good morning, Cobby. Good morning, Shadi. Good morning, Carolyn. Everybody is here. That means it's time to get started. The last thing I wanted to do was, put that away, I'm driving one-handed because I've still got the T in the other hand, is mention that any script we write today, which could be significant, we'll see how this goes, is available in the GitHub repo that you see there. I will have it in a dated folder, 2018-11-21, for the code we write today. So look forward to that. If we don't have one, it'll point to the top level folder where you can find previous episodes. Of course, you can always just browse around that link and see what you can find. Okay, on with the community. Let's spend a few minutes with some new content. I'll do a quick refresh and go to unreplied. How to update the location of a CI based on the CI it is hosted on. How to update the location of a CI based on the CI it is hosted on. Okay, so you'd have to crawl the CMDB rel CI table to find out what the parent is, if it in fact has a parent. Okay, we are in the middle of a CMDB project. One of our teams is providing us with a list of Tomcat application servers. These will be hosted on VMware machine instances. We get our VMware machine instances into the platform via an API. The team that manages the Tomcat application servers cannot tell the location of these, as the VMs they are hosted on switch between our data centers periodically. On our CI form, we have a set of base attributes that applies to all classes. One of these is location, and we normally track either SDC or HDC on this field. The VM instance will have the population from the API, so I was wondering if it's possible to update the location on the Tomcat instance that will have a hosted by relationship to the VM each time the location changes on the VM instance CI record. The answer to that is yes. You're going to need a business rule on that VM. So what's changing is the location of the VM. So I would recommend that you put a business rule on that class to watch for changes on the location. When the location changes, launch a script in the script box. See if I can get my parentheses right. In the script box to look through the CMDB rel CI. That's the key table to find where that particular changed CI if change VM is the parent. If so, use the child field to determine if the child CI is a Tomcat app hosted on that VM and make the appropriate location update to that field. It's a couple of glide record queries, but not too bad. One for the loop. There. One for the CMDB. One for the CMDB rel CI. CMDB rel CI table lookup. And one for updating pertinent. There's a word I don't spell every day. Apparently I got it right. Pertinent Tomcat apps. Suppose you could put it in there if the child, you could dot walk and see if the class is something. All right, there's the first one. Right out of the gate, we've got an idea. I'm not going to write the whole thing this time. Somebody responded to that? Andrew already responded just now. Certainly, you can update Tomcat location based off the VM's location. You can write a business rule on the VM where the location changes. Which, all right, who's typing faster today, Andrew? Sure thing. The idea is the VM records location. This was 2 minutes ago, so while we were reading it, someone else was responding. That's a good answer. Hey, nothing wrong with collaboration and confirmation. I have no problem being third in this race because it's confirming that the issue I have in the community sometimes is when, not when this happens. We were all typing about at the same time. You were either typing or reading at the same time. So you're going to get potentially repetitive answers. The ones that make me scratch my head and go, well, how did this happen? Is when someone comes along 6 months later and basically writes the same thing. It's like the answer's already been out there, possibly even marked correct. And they say, yes, you can do this. So, good morning, John. Andrew, you do what you do. You do it well. The community thrives on this sort of, gamification competition. What would you call it? Script does not update field correctly in business rule. I'm going to refresh, just in case somebody's out there answering these for me. Maybe I should take a different approach than the latest and greatest, newest questions. Hide the edit option for currency type field. How about make it read-only? Let's find out what the requirement is. I don't know that I'll have an answer for this, but I do like a good query. We have 5 currency type fields, but we need to hide the edit option for these. Can anyone tell me how to achieve this? How about making the field read-only? That would prevent someone from editing it, of course. I'm being oversimplified and probably a little snarky on this response because there aren't a lot of requirements like why do we need to get rid of the pencil? Why? Yes, you could do it with DOM manipulation, but I'm not encouraging that because that's way off base bad practice. I will come and slap your hands if you do that. Hide email log. Most of those field type widgets aren't that configurable. Reference field being the exception. But if you want to hide the date picker from the date field and just enter a string, well, now you're in the Wild West and you might as well just use a string field. Okay, because you can't validate the data that's coming in, and nobody knows what format it's coming in. Hide email log from activity stream on incident based on email subject. Okay, let's find out what the question is here. The tea is really tasty, and I can't keep it out of my hands, but it's affecting my typing skills. Live broadcast, totally unscripted. You get commentary like that. Hello, I want to hide an email form incident activity stream. I think that should be from. I do that too a lot. I type the word form so many times, my fingers just roll that off instead of from. Darn motor skills. Fast twitch muscles having a fun time. I want to hide an email from the activity stream log based on a particular email subject. I wrote the UI policy code as shown below. On condition, document, get element by class name, activity header. Again, DOM manipulation, don't do it. This is not a good way. If D, inner HTML, da-da-da-da-da. But I still show, okay, what's the underlying requirement for not showing some emails in the activity stream? Is this a security issue? I suspect your requirement may have an upstream solution rather than hiding it in the activity stream. I always want to know, what problem are we trying to solve? Put that in there. Automated testing with scoped application by a delegated developer. Are they testing it or are they writing it? That's my question. Not sure if I missed something, but is there a way to allow non-admins to select applications? I have assigned a relevant people the delegated developer role and even tried adding them as an application admin, but they can still only see global. I would like our testers to be able to use ATF for scoped application. I don't have an immediate answer to that, and I was just wondering that the other day. So instead of a lot of testing around and poking and jiggery, I'm going to subscribe to that and see what shows up in my inbox. Because I know somebody out there has an answer. Seems like it should be obvious. It should be available. How can we enable home page tabbed view in UI 16? I believe that's called a dashboard. Home pages don't normally have tabs. They don't have tabs by design. However, you could use their modern counterpart, the dashboard. And for that, you get a free link to the doc site. Hooray! There's yesterday's search that didn't come up. No, don't type docs, type dashboard. You know how many times I've done that in the past few days? I'd be in the application list filter. I'm supposed to be going to user administration and I type in the user's name. Type in able tutor. You know, why isn't it? Oh. Yeah, that's what happens to my brain sometimes. Let's put a link on the word dashboard. Give them a friendly link there. Open it in a new window just to be really nice. And reply. Hey, my instance timed out. Let's get back logged in there. All right, go do another one. Cobby says, we appreciate the commentary. It is a part of the charm of your show. You get it. I'll tell you what my commentary this morning was while I was making my delicious cup of chamomile tea. I pulled out this worn-out mug with a faded picture. You could probably hardly see it, but it is if I describe it, it might come into focus. It is a picture of me on a dock. I'm holding a turtle, and my two daughters are there. You can see their heads barely. When they were much, much younger. That picture is probably almost 20 years old. It's a very sentimental mug. I hope I never lose it or break it. My mother-in-law gave that to me for a Christmas many, many years ago. And I remember when she took that picture. That was fun. We were picking up painted turtles from right outside her house. Alrighty. Enough of the memory lane stuff. Unable to discover SNMP device even after defining an SNMP OID classification. It's in the ITOM space. I've written a couple of things like this. The OID is blah, 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 blah. SNMP is an interesting protocol if you've never played with it. It stands for Simple Network Management Protocol. And you download these effectively dictionaries. If you've done SOAP integrations, it's akin to a WSDL. It says, what can you do on this device? And the OIDs are sort of the definition or the almost like a dictionary entry to the device. So you get this magic number, which looks like a horrific software version. It is added to the Sytem OID classification. The intended device is not getting discovered. A discovery completes at SNMP classify 50 OIDs. So the discovery process, I've gone through this a few times, but it's been a while. Discovery process starts by going out to each of the devices. You give it, if you're doing the horizontal discovery, which is different than the top-down service mapping, we'll assume they're doing the horizontal discovery. This is where I wish I had a whiteboard or visual aid. We're talking about possibly adding things like that. We'll see. But you give it an IP range. For example, if I were going to discover all of the devices in my house, I would give it, I don't even know my new classification since I upgraded the internet about a month ago, but I used to give it 192.168.0.0/24. So I can give it either a range. Maybe I only want to discover 1 through 127. But if I want to discover the whole Class C address, I can give it a range and say, go find all the devices. And it starts in an accounting process. Says, okay, let's start at the first address. And it sends out a little message that says, do you speak SNMP, WMI, or SSH? Those three basic protocols. And it just tries port 22, port 135, and port 161, I think. My info is getting a little rusty, and it's still early, and I don't have caffeine. So there's that. It goes around to these devices and makes a note. And if, let's say, .1 responds, it says, yeah, I speak one of those. It makes a note and says, all right, .1 is able to talk SSH. We'll come back later. .2, do you speak one of those three? Yes. Okay, it makes a note. .3, nobody's home. .4, nobody's home. .5, and it goes through this and makes a little checklist. It goes, now back to .1. You said you spoke .ssh. And based on that, let me try some of the credentials that I've got. So it does a very iterative approach. First, it determines what protocol to use. And if it's SNMP, if it responded to an SNMP ping, ping is ICMP, but we'll worry about that later. If it responds to SNMP, then it says, let me find out what general classification. And it works its way down. Once it understands what type of device, then it can start asking more intelligent questions about it. So it's not asking SSH questions or WMI questions to a network switch. It's already determined that it speaks SNMP. It's a Cisco 6500 or whatever. I haven't done Cisco switches in ages, so I don't even know what the current models are. But it finds out that it's a Cisco switch. It can ask the right OIDs. It says, based on what you gave me for the last answer, I'm going to ask you more targeted questions for the next question. And it does this for each device and eventually gets to the point where it can classify it. Once it classifies it, then it can truly explore it given these questions. So first we need to classify. And the thing that a lot of people forget when they're creating a discovery setup for a device is that you not only need a probe, which is the question you're asking that device, whether it's an SSH command, a WMI query, or an SNMP OID, you're sending some query out to that via a probe. The response comes back, the sensor processes it, but there's also a classifier. It's a three-legged stool. You need the probe, the sensor, and the classifier to truly make this thing work. So I'm wondering here if we just don't have a classifier involved to do this classification, because the classifier is what then sends out. It determines what those prescriptive next probe questions are. It says, I've identified you. Yeah, you said you speak SSH. I've got a basic login. I could use my credentials, and I did a uname, and you said you're an AIX machine. So I'm going to send you AIX commands to figure out your memory, your hard drive, your running processes, because it wouldn't make any sense to send out HPUX or Linux, or half those commands are going to fail or in the wrong path. So that's a general overview of how that discovery process works. You want to learn more? We got classes for that. Good. A lot of good stuff. Good afternoon, James. Hope things are well in the UK for you. Why my event is in error state in the system log after being fired. I don't see too many error events. Let's find out. Dear all, I have the following. Skip. Let's see if somebody has responded to this. Yes, somebody has, but we want to read the question first. I have the following script in the scheduled job. So we're doing a basic query on the ALM asset table. We're adding an encoded query when send record to mail equals true. Okay. Could have been done without an encoded query, but who am I? I am going to turn on my little cursor tracker. For whatever reason it's not on. Let's turn that on. And if I remember right, it's control space now to turn that on. Control space. There we go. Now I can point to things on the screen and you can see them. So the encoded query gets back all the records where you send record to mail equals true. If get row count is greater than 0, you really don't. Oh, well, why are we sending GR should be a glide record? We haven't retrieved one. Okay, then we go through and update all the records. So asset.retired change. What it does is that it collects all the records with you send record mail equals true in the asset table, and then there is at least one record if the event is fired. I wouldn't do it that way. There's a better method to do that, but let's keep going. Then once the event is fired, I cycle through the collected records and reset the flag to false. When I test my script by pressing execute now in the system log event, I can see a state with error equals state error. Any ideas why this would happen? We have one reply from Ariel Greedy. Hello, Skull. What is the error type? Can you paste in a screenshot? Maybe I can help. Okay, there is a good usage right there of GS event queue. It doesn't require all 4 parameters, but works better if you do. So you could conceivably set it to 1. Is this registered, or did you type it incorrectly? If the event is not registered, I would possibly change this script up. I'm going to bring in VS Code, paste that in, and change this to not get row count, but if GR has next. Do that. Okay. Let's fix your typo too. There we go. Extra service. This doesn't necessarily need to be an added code query. I'm going to make it a little simpler just for readability. Add query here could be you send record to mail true. All right, and encoded query. I like it for complex queries, but for simple queries, it seems a bit overkill. Bit of a sledgehammer to a thumbtack. If there is at least one record, we fire the event. Okay, so GR doesn't have anything yet. Yes, it's a glide record. You could just as conceivably say null. What is that? Is it sending a notification? What is this event doing is another question. Is this event spelled correctly? So I got more questions than answers. Then, well, glide record next, set the flag to false, update the record. Okay, I made a few minor tweaks. I don't think that's really going to solve the problem, but it cleans it up a bit. Let's reply to that. I do have a reply box on here somewhere. Yes, I do. Okay, I've made a few minor cleanup tweaks. Tweaks to the script below. It brings up additional questions, such as ensure you spelled the event name correctly. Ensure the event is registered in the event registry. You can't just make things up. System, is it system policy? Performance analytics. I know there's a better one. It's under System Policy Events Registry. System Policy Events Registry. Note that passing GR that you haven't retrieved a GR record yet, so it has the value of null when the event is triggered. I've substituted a null for the glide record argument number 2. I didn't actually do that, so let's do that now. Null, empty, empty. Those are not necessarily required, but I do like to specify them just in case. Bring up our little scripty box, put in JavaScript, paste that in there, find the OK button, and away we go. Find out what happens. That'll be fun. Wow, time is flying and I got to get to the inbox. Let's see what we've got to continue some of these other ingenious conversations. Automated tested Andrew has jumped in on our ATF question. Good for you. Greetings, Chris. Once the user is granted delegated development role, they will have access to the application picker. They click their name on the top right, then developer chooses show application picker header. You can see how this is done. So you're saying they could have access to delegated development and ATF and be able to access and build and test. Worth a shot. Sometimes miss the obvious. Okay. No need to give read-only for those 5 fields, but don't need the edit options for those. I don't use the currency field too much. Although, hold on. List demo dev. We do have an application that we're working on right now for a demo that has a currency field. And I want to find out how it's represented. Only I just deleted mine last night. So let's go to the cars have a currency field. We'll take a look at a 2008 BMW. This brings up currency instance, amount, currency. Okay. Tells you what field. Yeah, it's actually more like a reference field. Okay. Still haven't told me what the problem is we're trying to solve. It's not a configurable out-of-the-box option. As far as I know. Maybe. Hold on. Let's find out. Let's consult the Oracle of Oracles, the dictionary entries. And see if there's anything around currency. I don't want to say no before. Modify dictionary entry, data type, system, dictionary. Where is it? Modify dictionary entries. Dictionary entry form, dictionary attributes. Okay. Currency. So it's mentioned 3 times on this page. There's one. There's no. It's mentioned 1 time on this page. Currency administration. Locale settings. Session and reference currency. This uses 2 kinds of currency. Single currency mode, price fields. A price field is a currency field that enables control over conversions and display. Maybe we just change it. I don't know. How's it represented? Currency amount type, combo box that is calculated. When the price, I don't use price fields all that often. This is new territory, or relatively unused territory for me. So let's go back to currency values in lists, currency values in forms. In forms, currency values are shown in the currency in which they are entered. Currency value in scripts. Yeah, I don't see a configurable option for that. I don't see a configurable option for currency fields that allows you to manage the pencil icon. just out of curiosity, let's pick on my favorite punching bag here. I still want to get that script written today, see if I have time. CLS app. We'll go to the Chuck table and add a couple new fields. Whee, come on. Let's put in the price of type price and amount. Here, we'll just call it currency of type currency. Add those. They'll show up on the form in some inappropriate place, but that's okay. And we get our Chuck table. Open up one of these tasks, and how are they represented? They both have pencils on them. So if I say 120 here and 120 there, what's the difference? This one brings up the editor that we saw before. No, a price field brings up the currencies I've got installed. Type, calculated, dynamically determined on display. So you can configure how that field is managed. So the currency field is similar, but doesn't have anything about the calculation. I would say stick with the currency for now. Simpler. Nope, still don't see any information on that. Unless anybody in the chat room has anything about currency fields that I don't know. All right. We also have how to update the location of the CI based on the CI. This is our VM thing. Thanks, Chuck. I thought that would be the case. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And other shortcuts to achieve this, and I'm fairly new to the CMDB structure. Am I right in thinking that we are best to do a background script and populate all the Tomcat locations first based on the VM relationship and then business rule to keep them maintained? You could either do the one-time update with a background script or fixed script. The fixed script has the benefit of being persistent and captured in an update set, so you can easily migrate it from dev to test to prod once you've tested it. I've been leaning more and more on fixed scripts, except in this show where I just run things for demo purposes. All right, let me get to the note that I wanted to cover about this scripted REST API. It sounded like a good challenge. I said a comment that came in yesterday. I need to create a web service API where the input is a sysid of any record and the output is all related active records to that sysid. The relationship between the tables is maintained in relationships under system definition. I'm not so sure about that. Could you please guide me through how to implement this? Sample code would be great. So if I give them an input sysid, all related active records from the various tables in the following JSON format. So we'll give a sysid, it's going to be an array, obviously, of objects. Sysid, a CI name. Okay, so it's going through the CI table. They're not saying all tables. And since there's no active field in the CMDB, that's going to be a tough one. This helps narrow it down. This is some information that I didn't read in the original take on this. What I would do, I would start with, I'm going to keep that in my CLS application. Go to Studio. I'm going to build this out. In my CLS application, create inbound integration. That's where the scripted REST API is. Bring that up. And I will call this find active CIs. And my API will be good, assumed. Now, I want a probably going to be a get command out of that. So I didn't specify an endpoint. Why didn't it come up with that? Protection policy, security, content negotiation. Let's create a new racehorse. And we'll call this get CIs. Relative path is fine. We can give it a proper name. It's not going to generate anything off of that. And what I need from the parameters is, let's first we could either specify this as a query parameter or a path parameter. So if I specify it as a path parameter, I'm going to say, here's my endpoint / sysid, very much like you do with the table API when you're saying, here's the table and here's the sysid on the URL as just /delimited. They have to be in a specific order. There's only one, so we could do that. We could also do a query parameter where we say $sysid equals. I prefer that method. That's just me. I think it makes the URL a little more readable. So I'm going to say var sysid equals request dot query params. We talked about this a bit last week. Dot sysid. We'll assume they're going to specify this as, we could say sysparm sysid if we really wanted to, but I don't know that there's any value in the extra letters. And I'm going to force that to a string because I don't know for certain whether or not it is an object or not, but I want a string. I don't want a sysid object in my variable at this point. Then let's create CMDB glide record equals new glide record CMDB CI. If I remember right, the name of, if I go to CMDB CI.list, all the CIs are going to appear at this table, just like all the tasks appear at task. You can't get to all of the specific information, but you can get the sysid because that's what connects all these things together. And I believe if I go to configure dictionary, what I'm looking for, there's no active field. So they're going to have to go on install status. If I remember right, that's the name of the field on install under status. They're going to have to define what that is. Okay, back to the editor. Where was I? I was in Studio somewhere. Say CMDB gr.addQuery install status is going to be like in 1,6. Okay, adjust as necessary. Needed. Then CMDB bgr, that's not letters I often type, query will get all the records. There's no specific order to this. The other nice thing about this table is we have the wonderful, wonderful field called sysClassName, which tells us what the table name is. See that JavaScript :current.get table name? I said current twice, didn't mean to. While CMDB gr next, oops, yeah, those don't go there, do they? That would be a bit of a problem. Put that in there. We need someplace to save all this goodness, so for lack of imagination, let's say we have a list array, and I'm going to create a minor object here, which is empty, and we'll say obj.sysid. They wanted sysid, right? Am I on the right one? Not the right one. The right one's way over here. Nope, that's not it. They wanted sysid, CI name, and table name. I generally don't recommend putting spaces in your objects. Okay, may look nice, but it doesn't parse nice, and when you parse it and turn it back into an object, you're not sure what you're going to get. So I'm going to take a little liberty here and not go where they're going. They need the sysid, they need the name, and so the sysid is going to be CMDB gr.getUniqueValue. That gets me the sysID, obj CI name equals cmdbgr.getDisplayValue. I love how the methods are just right there. And obj.ci name equals cmdbgr.getTableName. I know it's already built into this sysclass name field. It's going to get the same result. Once I've got this object, I could say list.push. Nowhere in there do I need to do a dot walk, because if I did sysclass name, I could suffer that problem with the looping pointer thing where I'm going to be doing a get value anyway. So if I'm going to do a get value on sysclass name, I'm going to use a proper class or a proper method in that class to get it. So, and it makes it nice and readable too. Push obj into the array. Then, once I've got all that, I can response.set status. We'll pretend it was a 200, right? We can always return a 404 if there's no records, and we can do a test in that. This is very, very high level, very, very quick. Response.setBody is going to be my list. Let's see what happens. How do we know what happens? Well, you want relationships. Did I misread that? Parent table is CMDB. Don't we have glide CMDB as... You could. I've used them interchangeably. CMDB came out when asset management was more appropriate, and it adds a couple of things. Yeah, we'll go with that. Shouldn't matter in this case. Let me reread the requirement just so I make sure I've got that. All related active records from various tables. What does he mean by related records? The relationship between the tables is maintaining relationships under system definition. No, not really. System definition relationships is something different. Relationships. You can look up relationships in your instance. Doesn't make your relationships any better. But if I have, say, let's find something that we can relate to easily. Asset contact. It's a script that says, this is for building related lists. It's self-defined related lists. If you don't have a reference field from one table to another, you can create this connection using a query to do that. So if you want all the users that are on a table that doesn't have a user, and you say, well, you know what, there is, if I script this, a way through this. Or A is related to B is related to C, but C is not related to A. I need you can get that this way. Okay. That's what it was before. Let's try this. Go back to my instance. Did I save it? No, because it still says submit. And we'll go to the REST API Explorer, which I believe is one of my favorites. It is. And try it out. We need a CI of a... Theoretically, this is only going to show up in one place. Why would you have the same sysID in multiple tables? Okay, I might be misunderstanding something. And to test this is really only going to return one record. I'm not sure what the relationship is. There's a bit of confusion on this part. But let me take the scripted REST API, just for your benefit, dear viewer, and copy that over to my editor so that I remember to save that. As soon as the cameras are off, I will do that. And then I will also paste it into here. Okay, so was that the answer? That was from 2 years ago. Let me reply to this first and say system definition relationships is for defining a related list between two tables that don't normally have a reference field or many-to-many definition. It's not going to be looked up. It is not a table we can query to find records from one table to another in a scripted REST API. I've written the basics of a scripted REST API that looks through the CMDB table for records that match your CI. Actually, you know what? There might be a horrific flaw in here. It's just going to look for all CIs that are... I didn't even use the... I didn't use the sys-ID anywhere. That would be nice. Add query sys-ID. Yeah, that's kind of missing. I don't know if anybody caught that or not. I guess they want a scripted REST API to find out record. A scripted REST API is going to be... Somebody else wants this information in their system. Let's copy that. Save. Update that one. Back to our post, which is that tab that match your sys-ID. Specified on the URL. Specified on the URL as HTTPS your instance.servicenow.com/ This is where the REST API comes in handy. Let's go to the CLS. Where is it? Where is it? CLS. Get. And the endpoint is going to be API. Scope name. App name. Find active CIs. And the get method, if I were to do that, I know it takes a query parameter, but let's see what happens when I just send it without one. It says you can't do that. Find active CIs. Where did the, oh, because it's a slash, never mind. The get is actually, it doesn't have any additional path parameters. Silly me. Okay. So I'm going to copy that out, put it in here, so I don't have to type this, substitute in your instance name, question mark. Uh-oh, almost sneezed. Your scope name, sys-ID equals some sys-ID here. Now let's put in the code. We can do that, right? Little script thing here. I already destroyed my copy and paste buffer. So let's go back and get it again. Copy. It's going to run us right to the end of the show. Minus. Script is all nice and colored there. Script is not colored when I paste it in there. So, well, that was interesting that this came in a little scripty box too, because it was being pasted in, all I did is take it out of here. Must have had something to do with the HTML that I copied. Interesting. All right. Top of the hour. Thank you very much. Hope to see you maybe in the next couple of days, but if not, I will see you a couple weeks from now. And appreciate you hanging out with us again. If you found something useful, mildly entertaining, enlightening, educational, click that like button on the video. I encourage you again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're watching this in the community post, click the helpful button there. Until then, thank you very much. And I will see you again real soon. Take care.